Hey guys, it's Matt from Train Sim Society and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So today's video is pure speculation. Now, nothing I'm about to go over is confirmed unless it comes directly from Dovetail Games, obviously, but there's a really interesting thread that's been building over on the forums. And I want to walk you through what exactly kicked it off, what the community is thinking, and why this might actually be something to keep your eyes on. So let's first start with the root of all of this. Now, the name Metro Rival. So this popped up because Dovetail Games has actually filed a new trademark, it seems, for that exact title. Now, we don't have a trailer, there's no press release or public announcement of whatever this project may or could be. It's just simply a trademark filing. But as soon as players saw that name attached to DTG, the speculation started. So the leading theory is that the Metro Rivals title could be a railway management game, something that's completely different from the world of TSW. Now, instead of driving trains, the idea is you'd be planning routes, managing networks, and possibly running the whole system from the top down, more of a tycoon style experience. Now, some players think this is exactly the kind of direction Dovetail should explore, maybe something a little bit more strategic, more systems based, and not so much centered around the cab experience. But other players are skeptical, mostly around whether Dovetail has the bandwidth to handle this on top of supporting everything they're already doing. We all know TSW is a big project for them and it isn't perfect, so launching another title into the mix, I'm assuming it would have a separate team, but still, it has me a little worried. So there are two main ideas coming out of this thread and from speculation on some other websites. The first is a metro-focused management sim. This is something that puts you in charge of running an underground or possibly urban commuter system. So you would handle possibly scheduling, fleet deployment, passenger flow, train delays, maintenance, and possibly network expansion. Now, it's been compared to games like NIMBY Rails and even Transport Fever, which a lot of you may be familiar with, which is more about optimization and logistics than hands-on simulation. But there's also a pretty big concern here. If it's limited to one city or one type of service, I think it could get pretty repetitive. So the general sentiment is that scale and depth are going to be critical here. If the game can evolve, multiple cities, competing demands, and growing infrastructure, I think that's what would give it long-term replayability in my opinion. Now, the second idea is that the game might involve competition, either from AI companies or other simulated operators, or it's possible there could be multiplayer and you could be doing all of this with other real players. Now, that would shift the gameplay from just managing a network to actively optimizing against rivals. And that would add a whole new layer of pressure, efficiency, market share, performance metrics, and so on. Now, some players are imagining this as a full spinoff, not really something that replaces TSW entirely, but something that maybe exists alongside it. A totally different kind of sim under the same umbrella. Now, if that's the case, I think it would be a smart way for Dovetail to reach a new kind of player, especially those who care more about planning and systems than the actual driving side that we get with either Train Sim World or Train Sim Classic. Now, with that said, there's been a clear divide on whether this is something TSW's core audience even wants. Train Sim World is all about realism, immersion, hands-on control, at least for the most part. This would be more abstract and less about being in the cab, more about running the show from top down. So this would probably appeal to a different audience entirely. And if it's something more PC focused, I think that also lines up with the kind of gameplay people are imagining here. The other concern that came up is whether Dovetail could support this while still pushing TSW forward. And yeah, that's a pretty fair point, honestly. Their support history definitely isn't perfect, and players have every right to be cautious when it comes to split attention between projects. There's also been a lot of back and forth about how realistic this game should be. Now, some people want full realism with timetable tables and all of that stuff I mentioned earlier, while others are hoping for something more casual and accessible, where there is just enough depth to feel strategic, but not so much that it turns into like a spreadsheet simulator, basically. I think that striking that balance will be key with this. And here's another angle that I haven't really touched on yet, but what if this ends up being something smaller like a mobile game? We've already seen Dovetail experimenting in that space, at least sort of. Train Sim World VR New York was on MetaQuest. That kind of feels like a test project in my opinion, and personally I didn't love it. I get why they did it, but I'd still rather see full PC VR support in the main game, but still it did show they're willing to branch out. And then we had that Roblox collaboration, which we won't talk about. This, in my opinion, was another clear example of them trying to reach new, more casual audiences. So if Metro Rails ends up being a mobile tycoon game, that wouldn't really shock me at all. There are already a bunch of train-themed management games on mobile, and I've got one installed myself, even though it really isn't too realistic. It's called Train Station 2, and there's like a third one I think that just came out. But the genre works, and Dovetail tapping into that space as the market leader for PC and console train sims honestly makes a lot of sense, so I can see this happening. I don't want to directly compare it to TSW VR and that Roblox collaboration. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be bad. The point is that it's just going to be different and targeted at a different audience, and both of those things were. Still, I think the discussion in this thread has been super active, and the fact that so many people, even sim drivers, are tossing out ideas about what this game could be is really saying a lot. There's clearly a gap in the market for something like this, and maybe, just maybe, Dovetail is finally looking to fill it. And here's the thing, when Dovetail officially announced TSW6 very recently, they did say they had other titles still to announce at Dovetail Direct. Now, they haven't told us exactly what those are, so could this Metro Rivals project, this potential game, be one of them? It is entirely possible, but again, it's not confirmed. But all the timing does line up. But I want to know, would you actually play something like this if it's a full-on management sim? Do you think Dovetail could handle it while still supporting TSW, and would you rather see something casual or more realistic with scheduling delays and all of that stuff? Share all of your thoughts down in the comments below, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy rail simming, guys.